Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. We're finishing up the Best of the Year series with my top 10 new-to-me board games from 2022. These are all games that came out in prior years that I had the first experience playing this year, and now they're some of my new favorites. I'm excited to share these games, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure that you do. It is the best way to help us grow. And for those of you already subscribed, thank you so much for the continuous support. Let's talk about the top 10 new-to-me board games from 2022. Starting off with number 10, we have a button-shy game, Tussie Mussie. This is an I-split-you-choose game. We are going to be assembling a collection of flowers, keepsake, and a bouquet with face-up and face-down cards that are going to score in different ways. The core mechanism here has you dealing out two cards, one face-up, one face-down, and the opponent picks one of these to put into their arrangement. Now, my favorite part about this game is actually the implication of that choice and the scoring that occurs from the different cards you're taking. Each card has different ways that it scores, whether it's a face-up, whether it's in that bouquet, or if it's face-down in the keepsakes, the position with the other flowers, and every time that you decide to put a card face-up or face-down, you're changing the potential scoring of that card. Believe it or not, in that simple decision of one face-up, one face-down, there's many implications on how that will affect the rest of the cards that are going to come out during the entire session. I love the simple concept of the game, the beautiful art, this theme that is of that flower gift giving, and how it really shines at the two-player experience. The solo mode is also lovely, as you have this deck of customer cards you can add for even more varied events, and I think it's an overall complete package with a lovely theme. That's my number 10, Tussie Mussie. My number 9 goes to Mall of Horrors. At face value, this looks like a horror survival game. You're attacking characters and creatures, but more so, this is a negotiation party-style game, where you'll control a group of characters, and it's your job to keep them alive as long as possible. You'll do this through a negotiation system and voting system where you're going to talk amongst yourselves and the characters that you have in each room to decide who is going to satiate the zombies' hunger each round. That's actually my favorite part about this game, is the way that everything is driven through this voting system. You'll have a dial and you'll choose who is going to be the poor victim, but some of your characters, particularly the ones with weapons, are actually going to carry more weight in their votes because they have a weapon. Of course they're going to make it so that people are going to listen to them. It's an oddly thematic game with this negotiation aspect, and I think it explores a different side of a zombie horror genre that we've seen in other games. I think this is a unique game for your collection, and it's something that you should give a try if you can find a copy of it. That is my number 9, Mall of Horrors. My number 8 goes to Ka Ching, a simple game where you are trying to gain as much money as possible by purchasing stocks and then selling them for high profits. Now, the game itself is extremely simple, as on your turn you're either spending money to buy cards into your hand or using the cards in your hand, multiplying their values to gain that much money. My favorite part about this game, though, is actually how it is set up. You'll have all of these cards on top of each other making these columns, and then you're only allowed to take the cards that are currently revealed. So it's all about timing when you're able to pick up specific cards, because getting a 6 times 5 multiplier is insane value. So you want to make sure you're setting yourself up for these big plays, having enough money to actually purchase cards, but also enough time to be able to play the cards in your hand to gain the value and gain the money. It's a race, because once 3 of these columns have disappeared, the game is over, but this game, it just has such an amazing cadence as you're able to pick up cards, play stuff, and teach the game in all less than 10 minutes. I love this package. It's a complete experience that gives me vibes of something like Seven Wonders Duel, where you're going to be vying for those perfect positions and putting your opponents into places where they have to take a bad card, leaving you the exposure of amazing options. So that's my number 8, Ka Ching. My number 7 goes to Skull King, a trick-taking game where you play as pirates. You're going to be deciding how many tricks that you're going to be winning each round, and then based on your hand of cards, playing out these tricks and trying to win a certain number, based on whatever you've decided. My favorite part about this game, though, has to be the varied effects and abilities of the cards, because it's never a guarantee whether or not you're going to win something. The pirates generally win everything, but the Skull King can defeat all the pirates. The mermaids are able to defeat most cards, but are defeated by pirates, and you get extra points for doing so. You have cards where you can automatically surrender and get out of sticky situations, and there are more and more expansions in this new edition that allow you to add these new unique cards that bring up scenarios and situations that are just kooky and fun. In combination with the betting system, you're always unsure of how you're going to make that number, but when you do, it is so gratifying, and the more points that you can get in the process, the more of an amazing time you'll have. I think the betting elevates this game in general, as it's something you're going to come back to with that edge and that idea that you want to do better every single time. Love this one. That is my number 7, Skulking. My number 6 goes to Skulls of Sedlec, another skull-themed game, but this one has you creating a mausoleum by stacking your different skulls in a tower, and based on their arrangement, you'll score a variety of points. Now, one of my favorite parts about this game, though, has to be the way that you're playing out the skulls, because on your turn, you're going to either be drawing skulls into your 2-card hand size, or you're playing one in front of you. I love the choice of playing the skull, because you always start at the bottom, and then you move to the sides, and then start building up, but once you play one of those cards, you have committed yourself to scoring in a specific way, and so you're going to be guiding your strategy around that. It's a small tactical choice that's going to have long-term strategy, and you're always playing in the moment, trying to find different card combos and using those cards in your hand to set yourself up. It's a gratifying feeling overall, and the solo mode of this game is also spectacular, as you have 2 different arrangements that you're managing and trying to get the most points in both of them. It's a gratifying experience overall, and I think it's one you need to try, particularly if you like light games like this with lots of varied ways to score points, and the expansions are spectacular as you're able to mix and match new skulls with new scoring abilities as much as you see fit. I actually think the expansion is my favorite way to play because it allows you to draw even more cards during your final turns, which means you'll have even more options, which is something I always enjoy. So that is my number 6, Skulls of Sedlec. My number 5 goes to Spicy, a small bluffing card game that's vying for the spot of the best in its genre. This has you playing as tigers who are playing a spicy food eating contest. And you're going to be playing cards out of your hand into a central pile, and when you do so, you're going to say that it's a specific number and a specific color, always trying to be higher than the last card played, and it resets at the 10. Now, the way that this works is you're trying to empty your hand, and if you do twice, you win automatically, but if not, you get the most points to win instead. The way you get points is by challenging. Now, when I say challenge, you're going to be challenging people if they are lying or not about the cards they're putting down. And when you do this, you have to say whether they're lying about the number or lying about the color. And this is actually one of my favorite things about this game, is because it encourages lying, because there's always a possibility of you getting away with it, even if you're lying constantly. In addition, the entire cadence of this game makes it so that it's going to be something that is engaging and fast, and something you're going to be watching intently the entire time. I love the way that it just goes in a clockwise fashion, so no one's ever getting stuck with decisions or getting stuck in a loop where everybody's just putting cards on you, but you have to take that initiative yourself and put those cards out in the center and be the person who is making those claims and just throwing out cards, trying to shed them as fast as possible. All of this makes Spicy a game that I'm going to continue to come back to. And one last thing, if you play this for the first time, they have this awesome card that's going to go into the deck to show where the end of the game is. And when you shuffle that deck up, and especially a sleeve deck of cards, it's going to be like this big, and the card is like on this very bottom, and you're looking at it like, oh my gosh, this game's going to take forever. It flies by, and it's miraculous how it does so. You're just constantly playing, putting these cards out, and it's such a wonderful experience that comes with variability in the box with these Spicy cards. I could talk about this one all day. Spicy, an amazing bluffing card game, and vying for that best spot in its genre. My number 5. My number 4 goes to Vabanque, a strange game of player-created chaos. This has you playing as characters who are managing these different casino tables by placing different value chips there and then using action cards in order to modify the values there. And the way it works is you'll have a character that moves around the casino tables. Every round you'll place out chips there, and then you'll place cards face down that will either double the value, steal the opponent's money in that area, or do nothing, just a bluff. So only 3 of these cards, but the entire game is driven by player choice, and it happens one small action at a time. One player will place a chip, the next player places a chip, and it goes like this until you get to the cards. You play the cards, and then you move your characters, and then hopefully on that reveal, you're able to obtain value. Based on how much money you get, though, you're going to go further in the turn order on the next round. So if you do super poorly, then you're going to have more options and more knowledge for your future turns. My favorite part about this game, though, is the fact that it is entirely player-controlled chaos. There's no randomness in this game. It's up to you to make your own mistakes, make your own moves, and also be able to read what the other players at the table are doing. I love the feeling of getting gigantic values, and it's such a quick experience in game that even if you get completely blown out, you're going to want to try again and play again. This leads to some amazing, crazy, wacky moments, and it's one of my favorite filler games that I've played in a long time. So that is my number 4, Vabanque. My number 3 goes to Grande. This is an area control game where you're placing out these cubes on the map by drafting different cards and trying to set yourself up for scoring opportunities. In the player phase, you'll be choosing initiative cards that based on that initiative, you'll be drafting different powers and abilities which also relate to how many units you're allowed to place on the map. You can also place them into the Castillo, where at the end of the round, right before scoring, you're able to shoot them out into a new region and shift up the different scoring potential. The entire experience of this game is so clean and well done, and it's one that I always see myself wanting to come back to. My favorite part about this game, though, is how the powers and abilities work on the different cards and how they integrate the different mechanisms that are present in the game. For example, there are some cards where you'll use your selection wheel for the Castillo in order to move or adjust scoring potential. You can actually place new scoring banners onto the board, make scoring happen immediately. I love how fluid the entire experience is and how adaptable and conflict heavy it is without being this in-your-face attacking style game. The drafting is smart, the card play is elegant, and it's one that you're going to want to play again and again, and it is honestly just so much fun to put out different pieces, shoot the Castillo, and use an assortment of effects. Incredible design. This is number 3, Grande. My number 2 goes to Unmatched. Now, this is an entire gaming system. It's a fighting system where you're taking your hero and fighting against another. These are going to be from all different IPs, where you're going to have characters from Jurassic Park fighting characters of literature, superheroes from the Marvel Universe, by using a deck of cards. Now, these decks of cards feature artwork that are stunning and beautiful, but the cards are also legible and so easy to play and get into. This is a game that has so much complexity in the way that you're going to be playing your cards and actions, but the core rule set is so simple that anybody can get into it. And that's one of my favorite things about this game, is the fact that they're able to make these characters feel unique, but not overwhelming. You'll be able to get Medusa, get the gist of her, start playing her cards, and then once you learn the system, you can start understanding the nuances behind the gameplay. Now, my recommendation for this game is you get the Unmatched Battle of Legends Volume 2. This is my favorite box set for the entire experience, as not only does it have a terrain map that allows you to get advantage spots, but the characters themselves are very unique and balanced, while also being some of the most powerful characters in the game, making you feel awesome the entire time you're playing. For example, you have Sun Wukong, who's able to summon these shadow clones. You have Achilles and Patroclus, who are sacrificing themselves for power. And then Yanenga, this archer that is all over the place, that has an entire team, one of the most powerful characters in the game. And then last but not least, Bloody Mary, who's always trying to set up combos to get additional actions and bonus abilities. But the entire system as a whole of Unmatched is one that you can pick and choose what you like, but the more fighters you have, the more maps you have, it's going to open up those options and make it be a game that's going to be your go-to head-to-head skirmish game. For complexity's sake, I think this is one of the best in its genre. You start going, start playing, move, attack, punch, fight, and just keep going until you defeat that enemy. I love the entire experience of Unmatched, and I strongly recommend the system. That is my number 2, Unmatched Battle of Legends, particularly Volume 2, if you're just getting into it. But my number 1 goes to Crocodile. This is a flicking dexterity game where you are trying to get as many points as possible by flicking your different discs towards the center of this target. Now, the game has players alternating flicking discs, but when you flick, you must hit an opponent's piece. And that is key, because that means the board state is always changing. You're able to knock the different pieces out, but if you get it in the center, your piece is removed and you'll score an extra 20 at the end of that round. My favorite part about this game, though, is the entire arc of it and how it sets you up for stand-up moments. You start with no discs on the board and you're flicking them towards the center, and then the board starts expanding outward as more get added. You're then able to see clearly and follow along that, hey, if I shoot this in specific factions, it's going to move a lot of pieces, and then the boards change drastically, causing you to be overcome with excitement and invested in the experience. One other thing I have to add is how amazing this game is at the team player count, a 2v2 system. Back at FrankCon 2022, we ran a whole tournament with doubles. You're sitting across from your partner, coordinating and cooperating with them to take specific shots, and this also can be used as somewhat of a balancing factor, making sure that you're pairing up the teams appropriately to keep that balance acceptable. This is awesome for new players and advanced players because you're able to talk still, cooperate, and help each other out. I love the camaraderie that comes from this and the overall experience. If you have not played Crokinole, you have to try it. It's such a wonderful time. So that is my number one, Crokinole. And that's it. Those are my favorite new to me board games from 2022. What board games from not 22 did you try this year, and what were your favorites? What should I still be giving a try? What do you recommend, and what do you think about this list? Which games were you surprised to see on it? Which games did you think needed to be on it from previous years? I'd love to hear what you think. But thank you so much for watching and for joining all of our best of 2022 videos. Thank you so much. SideGame Strong.